Hey folks, Kilt-Man here. Kilt-Man at your services. How are you all? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Now, sadly this week we've lost not one but two icons of the big screen and the small screen and the stage. One name everyone knows. Everybody knows his movies and him as an actor, as a superstar. And the other one, well, I have revered him for many years and many of you guys have too. He's more of a cult, niche character actor, but both sadly have passed this week. First of all, Robert Duvall. Robert Duvall, the one that everyone knows, of course. A fabulous actor, a real life cowboy, a philanthropist. He was in the US Army for about a year or two in the 50s, but a fabulous, fabulous character actor. He could play a good guy, a bad guy, and all the bits in between, all that grey, murky area. THX 1138, which you're hearing Leo Schifrin's opening main theme for right now. George Lucas's film, and he's the shaven-headed drone, human drone, who rebels. He's outstanding. It's a clever, audacious movie. I think it's one of Lucas's best movies, and no one ever talks about it these days, do they? But Duvall is outstanding in it. Of course, he cut his teeth initially stage and small screen, but then of course, To Kill a Mockingbird, he plays the pivotal character of Boo Radley, the great Boo Radley, which brought him to a lot of people's attention and won him a lot of different roles, opened doors for him in Hollywood. He'd go against Rooster Cogburn, the Duke John Wayne in True Grit as Ned Pepper, who's a likeable, charismatic villain who's actually got a moral code. He's not just a despicable, swine on the range. He has got a moral compass, and he will try to let off, the marshal who's after him, but it doesn't come to that fruition at the end. But a great actor, obviously Apocalypse Now and The Godfather for Coppola. Godfather Parts 1 and 2. He didn't do Godfather Part 3. I mean, as great as the guy is, he did say, listen, Pacino's getting 3 to 4 times what I'm earning. And he got that in the first movie. You want me back? I want at least what he was getting first time round. I've done a lot of movies since, and, well, it wasn't to be. So he's not in Godfather Part 3. As Tom Hagen, family confidant and enforcer, but a great supporting actor. He was nominated for many awards throughout his career, many awards. He won several, but he got the Academy Award 83 for Tender Mercies, and he's in a lot of dramas. This is a guy that even brought a touch of class to the early Tom Cruise movies. Days of Thunder, yeah, that one with Nicole Kidman. I love The Cruiser, but I'm not a fan of that movie at all. And yet Robert Duvall as the aging crew chief, I think he's brilliant in it. He saves the day. The only thing worth watching for is him. And also to laugh at the name Cold Trickle, which is the Cruiser's moniker for his character in that movie. But of course, Colonel Kilgore, Apocalypse Now. Oh my God. Air Cavalry. He's there. They can do anything, young lieutenants. We can get you anywhere you want to be. Air Cav. Ah. Hey son, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. We bombed this hill. Went up the next day. Not one body, not one stinking dink body. But the smell, the gasoline smell, the whole hill smelled like victory. One day this war's going to end. He's outstanding. The Ride of the Valkyries, storming the village. He owns a movie like Apocalypse Now, which I've covered quite in depth. In any version you watch, is a sumptuous, emotional, thought-provoking delight. It's populated by brilliant characters and fantastic actors all the way around. Wild times, crazy performances, but you know, you've got Brando in there, you've got Martin Sheen in there. A lot of stuff took place, obviously, but shining out of all that in the first third would be Robert Duvall as Colonel Kilgore. Totally outstanding. Westerns, yeah. Lonesome Dove, another epic mini-series. Quite a brutal mini-series. I remember that first came out and I was surprised at the level of violence that was in it. I didn't expect it to be like that. Thoroughly enjoyed it, of course. Tommy Lee Jones is in there as well. A great ensemble cast. But Robert Duvall is the main star as a retired Texas Ranger who gets a new mission in life, a new odyssey, and they go through the ringer, don't they? But he's outstanding in it. Open Range in later years with Kevin Costner, directed by Costner as well. Again, aging ranchers in a feud, and it's a great. I prefer it to Unforgiven, which of course was Clint Eastwood's aging cowboy movie, which is great. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but I prefer Open Range for a lot of different reasons. But Duvall, you know, so many other movies. I mean, I began to write them down, and I kind of gave up. Colours with Sean Penn, you know, he's great in that. Falling Down, opposite Defends, you know. Michael Douglas. What else have we got? What else did I put down? Oh, the other TV show, Broken Trail, a more modern day Western. It's just outstanding. Charlie Don't Surf. What else did I put down? Oh, Bullet with Steve McQueen. Yeah, he's in that. Oh, Days of Thunder, we've talked about that. But Robert Duvall, you all know him, and he was receding and almost balding from a very young age, but he kept his hair nice and trim, and he had that sleek look, dignity, grace, an air of authority, an air of aged, well-weary stoicism, but a twinkle in his eye as well. In many different shows and movies, there was a sense of humour there as well, which came through, which warmed the cockles of your heart. Many people he worked with, actors and directors, said that, you know, once he inhabited a character, whoa, that took over. Robert Duvall had left the building, and whoever that character was he was playing, that took over. Not method acting, but definitely intense. Duvall himself always said, like, look, you play a character like you play real life. You live minute by minute, moment by moment, hour by hour. You can't dictate or see what's going to happen down the road. You can live just in that moment. And I live when I'm performing a character on stage, screen, big screen, small screen, whatever. I'm in that character for those nanoseconds, which become minutes, which become a scene. I'm locked into that. And it's, you know, everyone plays characters in a different way. Everyone's got their own style, I'm sure. But his certainly worked. A captivating screen star, you know. And on stage, did Broadway as well. You know, these are consummate actors. You don't have people like that these days. You simply don't. He died at the age of 95. You simply cannot ever complain about that. I know we all go, oh, such a sad loss. And of course, it is. He wasn't going to make any more movies, I wouldn't have thought. He died peacefully at home. And, you know, what more could you ask for? What a fantastic life. A philanthropist. He had a lot of charities in Argentina. His affiliations with Argentina go back a long, long way. And he donated money and raised money for orphans and for destitute women. He also became proficient in the Argentine tango, and he also learnt martial arts as well. I think he was married 4 times, I could be wrong about that, and I think the first 3 marriages yielded no children, and he even joked about that. He said, I'm firing blanks, I can't sire any kids at all, and then finally he did. But a great character actor, a fabulous personality, someone who's true to his own his own beliefs, his own ideas, wasn't swayed by Hollywood, wasn't afraid to argue with Coppola as well. Like, I want more money than this. And, oh, you're not going to give it to me? Well, okay, I'm not doing it then. I will not play Tom Hagen in Godfather Part 3. Goodbye. And that's what he did. You've got to remind people like that. But he clearly wanted money. And it isn't just Godfather Part 3. There's other directors that remember him saying, like, I want more money than this. And if I get an award for this, it's going to open the door to bigger movies and a bigger paycheck. What's wrong with that? Nothing. But he's the name everyone knows. And, you're going to get, come the Academy Awards next time round, that big montage of all the people who've passed away in the last year. There'll be a big, huge thing for that, for Robert Duvall. But you also have another actor who passed away this week. And this one, if you can see, Robert Duvall was 95 and, debatably wasn't going to do much more film-wise or things that we know about. But the other guy, who had retired, by the way, but was still a very young age, he died at 74. I think he died on February 14th, so Valentine's Day, but we only heard about it literally today, which is the 18th of February. And it's the great Tom Noonan. And he's the name that a lot of people will not know at all, but you will recognise him in movies and TV shows because he's been in so many. Tom Noonan is 6'5", a gangly Ichabod Crane praying mantis shape of a man. But he played the Tooth Fairy in Manhunter for Michael Mann. Yeah, Francis Dollarhide. Can you see? Can you see? Because he picks a blind woman who can't see. But the first film that had Hannibal Lecter in it, of course, played by Brian Cox, an outstanding version of Hannibal Lecter. Many would say that the best, even though we had Anthony Hopkins coming afterwards, hot on his heels. But as Francis Dollarhide, Tom Noonan is outstanding. He's frightening, he's genteel, he's creepy, he's eerie, he's menacing, but he's also weirdly charismatic. And these are the qualities that Tom Noonan brought to many, many different movies and TV shows. His intimidating size, his height. He wasn't a big fella, he wasn't muscular, he was just tall. And I've said many times before, and I think you guys will also agree with this, a lot of tall people, of which I'm not one of that tribe, I'm the hobbit sized, but a lot of tall people that I know or have met in life have been embarrassed by their height, which, they shouldn't be, but they are. So they kind of stoop low and to come down to your level, and they don't want to stand out in the crowd. I understand that, but I've always said if I was super tall, I'd really make myself muscular and be huge, and I'd be cutting through crowds, boom, 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 like King Kong, But Tom Noonan, as tall as he wasn't intimidated by his own height. He used it to his advantage. This guy was a playwright. He was born in Greenwich, Connecticut. A very bohemian guy. He's a playwright, a director, a composer, an editor, and a director. He made his own movies. He put his own stuff, his own plays onto stage, and then put them into movies. I wrote them down. I've not seen them, sadly. What Happened Was is one of them, and The Wife is another, which he wrote them as plays, put them on stage, and then adapted them for his own movies. There might even be another one as well, which I haven't written down, but the list of his movies is outstanding. Now, I had a lot more for Robert Duvall there, but we might come on to that again. Tom Noonan was also in, you guys know it, Wolfen. He plays the zoologist in Central Park Zoo, Ferguson, who understands the thing about shape-shifting and explains to Dewey Wilson, Albert Finney, about the mind. The mind is whatever it wants to be. You can change the body whatever the mind wants it to be. So you can, and Albert Finney's kind of like, what? They're thinking about wolves who were on the rampage in Manhattan. And but he is the sympathetic one. There's so many great scenes in it where you meet him and he works out that, you know, the hair they found on the bodies of victims, that's a Canis lupus hair. It's a wolf, but not like any normal wolf. This is something different, but it's definitely lupine. And in a scene which I can never watch in the movie, he sits there late at night, he's in the zoo, his own office is there, and his laboratory and that, and he's watching videos of hunters killing wolves, and sadly it's real life footage of wolves being killed. I've watched the film Wolfen a million times, but I've only seen that scene once. I know because you see him getting shot, and the hunter's bringing up the wolf's carcass with its head and all that, and its head lolling. I remember it horribly too well. I can't watch it. But Tom Noonan, playing Ferguson, who's clearly sympathetic with the wolves, you see him, he watches it, and his head is like this, and he's despairing. So I think my first time I saw Tom in the movie was Wolfen. That scene broke me, and his reaction broke me. And I remembered him. A lot of films he's bald, but he's got a bit like Robert Duvall. It's all going from the top there. There's bits around here, and he have a beard a lot of the time as well. Sometimes a big, long, rangy beard. And he has sort of, there's tufts of hair there. And he sacrifices himself rather stupidly to the wolf in the film version of that book there. And but I like him as a character. I like him in anything he's been in. He could play bad guys though. That was the thing, because he had a unique look. His eyes, they're like, the eyes are saying, you know, I love you, but I'm going to kill you. They're orbs of fate and destiny. And he has kind of, oftentimes in movies, in the conversation pieces, he's kind of like, he's looking down and he's speaking in a very soothing, mellifluous voice. And that was another character trait of his. And then he'd finally begin to look up at the character he's talking to, but at the camera, at us. And those eyes, those limpid pools of those eyes would be bewitching. Now, I'm not saying that he did that for movies. He must have been like that in real life. Directors sought him out to play these characters because of this mesmerizing, entrancing quality that he had, this aura. He's the sort of guy that, you know, in a party, you'd either be drawn to him or you would keep away from him. He's that kind of guy. But wherever he was, you could guarantee there'd be people, acolytes around him. He has that guru-like aura about him where you'd be drawn or, you know, I'm not going near. I thought he was fantastic. Obviously Wolfen, Manhunter. He's in the X-Files. He's in CSI alongside William Peterson, who's obviously in Manhunter as well. He's in so many TV shows. He's in FX Murder by Illusion. He's in the 12 Monkeys TV show as the Pallet Man. What else? God's Last Action Hero with Arnie Schwarzenegger. He plays the assassin. One of the few times where you see him actually in makeup as an aggressive bastard, and he plays the assassin called the Ripper, and he does look really horrible with his hood up and all that, and his horribly disfigured face, and he is intimidating in that. He's also in RoboCop 2 as Kane, the drug dealer, who, for the early portions of the movie, the first half, he's human, and but he orders horrible assassinations and killings and slayings, but again, he's charismatic. He's a guru-like character. Yeah, we're still playing Wolfen, but let's go on to a bit of RoboCop 2. And but he will end up becoming another cyborg to fight RoboCop, Alex Murphy, and with it, and I like RoboCop 2. It's almost as violent in its uncut version as the original Paul Verhoeven RoboCop. It's not as good, but I mean, Kurtwood Smith as Clarence Bodiger, you know, and his gang, nothing competes with them, nothing compares. Bitches leave, but Kane is a good nemesis for the revamped, sequelized RoboCop, because when he becomes this big lumbering beast, mechanical beast, there's a view screen of an early CG rendition of Tom Noonan's face, but it's the eyes are enhanced and he grins. He's like and all this, like, and it's just like a really OTT version of him, but it's great, you know. It's a thoroughly violent and comic book cartoon like addition to the RoboCop mythos, and another great villain, which Tom Noonan perfectly essays. He's also sort of about being disfigured and playing monsters, visual monsters. He's in Fred Decker's The Monster Squad. The Monster Squad! Wolfman's got nods! Yeah. Fantastic movie. I thought I had the soundtrack on. I have got the soundtrack, but it's not on the system. Otherwise I would have put a bit of Frankenstein, because he plays Frankenstein's monster. You have Dracula, you have the Gill-Man, you have Wolfman, you have a mummy in there. And it's it's like, you're into the Goonies, the Lost Boys, and Monster Squad. It's for young teens, you know, cutting their teeth in horror movies. But it's great. Fred Decker's a great B-movie director anyway. Pure cult is in his DNA, and it's a wonderful film. But Tom Noonan plays Frankenstein's monster, and he's the good guy, as Frankenstein's monster usually is. He's sympathetic, and although Tom Noonan's unrecognisable pretty much under the makeup, his performance is beautiful. You know, he befriends these kids, especially the little girl, and you know, walking off into the sunset and all that. He's lumbering around, and the little girl in it, holding a hand. It's outstanding, and he's wonderful. It makes a big sacrifice, of course, but he's such a likable character. Now, the thing is, he hated the makeup. Tom Noonan, apart from like this and I think in Last Action Hero, maybe something I can't quite remember now, but it didn't really wear a lot of makeup in movies, just his own visage usually, and he hated wearing the makeup, and the appliance application he just couldn't stand, and he'd be known to be tearing bits of it off, you know, between takes, because it was just annoying him so much. But Fred Dekker said, like, look, I've never met a more consummate professional and a really lovely guy. You know, he was a lovely character to get along with. He had time for everybody. He said in the end, the makeup, he couldn't be bothered tearing it off, and he even drove home wearing the full makeup, because he just, I can't be bothered, I want to go home. And I've said done me lines, done me scenes, been friendly to everyone. I've tried to eat me canteen meal through these big stupid lips and big stupid teeth, but I just want to go home now and relax. But no one had a bad word to say about Tom Noonan at all. In later years, I think up until about 2018, he was still acting, and he appeared in the werewolf movie Late Phases, which I've reviewed on the channel. The great Nick D'Amici, the blind veteran who moves into a retirement estate, but there's a werewolf there, it's just preying on people, and the very first night he moves in, it kills his guide dog, a big German Shepherd, in a really traumatic scene. Again, you know, I don't want to get upset again, like, but it bothered me that a lot. But Tom Noonan plays the priest. I think it's called Roger Smith, Father Roger, and Nick D'Amici, the blind veteran, knows there's a werewolf out there, and he knows the next full moon, so he's got a month to plan and prepare. But because he can't see, his hearing and his sense of smell and everything else, his other senses are heightened. So he listens out for the laboured breathing of what he knows the werewolf would be. And Father Roger, Tom Noonan, has this laboured breathing because he's a chain smoker. He's not the werewolf. Spoilers, but I reviewed the movie anyway, but he's not the werewolf. And he's a very sympathetic guy. And again, this plays to Tom Noonan's absolute unbelievable abilities to cut beneath the character and get under the skin of you, the viewer, and the characters he's talking to. He speaks in such a very soft, mellifluous way. His words are soothing. Even when he's being threatening in likes of Manhunter, you hang on every word. He's very placating, and it's reassuring to hear his voice. He's very polite, and he's like that. But because in late phases, or Night of the Lone Wolf, I think it's called in some territories, but it's late phases of the moon, in other words. And he's wonderful. And for a portion of the film, you are suspecting him as well. Then we will work out who the real werewolf is. And it's the great Lance Guest, the last starfighter himself, Halloween 2 and Jaws Revenge. But he is the werewolf, and he's almost unrecognisable because he'd aged a lot since last Starfighter, and he's the werewolf. But anyway, Tom Noonan as the priest, he's excellent. He's played a priest a few times actually. He's in something else as a priest. What is it now? Oh, is it Seraphim Falls, another western, and he's is it Pierce Brosnan and Liam Neeson, and he's great in that as well. He offers stalwart support, but again, this style of the way he speaks and those doleful eyes, you're suckered in. That's why he can play a bad guy so well. I mean, bad guys, serial killers, you know, we've now learned they're like the person next door. You know, the neighbours always say, well, he was always wonderful with us. He fixed our picket fences. He fixed our roof. He put our gutters back on. He found our cat. He's wonderful. You know, who'd have thought he'd eat babies? You know, all this kind of stuff. So, but when you watch Tom Noonan at work, you go, oh my God, yeah, that's how they would be. He's also in Ty West's House of the Devil, an 80s throwback, which I reviewed many years ago, not on the channel, but elsewhere. And I like the film a lot. It's you've got Dee Wallace in there as well, who doesn't last too long in it, to be honest. But it's a kind of a weird reworking of Rosemary's Baby to a degree. Haunted house, menacing people, and poor girl gets suckered into all this. But again, he plays Mr. Ullman, who's employed this maid, carer, babysitter for his wife's mother. I won't go too far into all this, but it's a lot of things happen that night, put it that way, and nothing is what it seems. But as a bad guy in that, Tom Noonan is the most refined, polite, likeable you could ever be. You know he's up to no good, but he's also doing it in earnest because he really hasn't got a choice, and he's not boo hiss and like grabbing people and he's not like that. He's so, again, mellifluous and calming and polite and, you know, very sensitive. And it's a really, I don't think there's any other actor that I've ever witnessed who could do what Tom Noonan does so well. He'd be in the X-Files as well. He'd be in, oh God, I think to mention CSI. Oh God, loads of TV shows. Like, I really can't begin. He had a massive career in TV and a good long career in movies. But I think after late phases, I think after that, he may have gone into retirement. But so a scant, less than 10 years later, age 74, he sadly passed away. I don't know if he had any illness. I really don't know. In the case of Robert Duvall, 95, 95, he may have been ill, probably was, but 95, 74. I've done a lot of tributes over the last few years to actors who've passed away, and the sheer amount who've gone at 74, 75, 76 is astonishing. Well, that's a young age. I mean, for me, it's less than 20 years away, you know. So, you know, it is kind of worrying a little bit. Oh, he's in Heat as well as Kelso, the hacker, the wheelchair-bound hacker. This is Tom Noonan, and he's balding, but he's got a big beard in that, like. And he meets Macaulay, who's Robert De Niro. He's going to talk about like the big bank job, and he's got all the details, and he's only here for like literally a few minutes, and he outlines the plan and why they should do this. And Macaulay thought, you know, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm in. Me and my team will do this. And there's a great bit of dialogue where he says, like, well, Macaulay says, like, how do you know all this about the computer systems and all that? And, you know, if you go in there the night before, you can you make sure that the CCTV and everything else, the computers are all off 20 minutes before you do the heist. He said, how do you know all this stuff? He says, well, and again, in that understated, very pleasant and draw you in sort of style that Tom Noonan has, he just says, like, oh, everything's out there, the information, it's in the air, it's out there. You just gotta know how to grab it, and I know how to grab it. And that's the way he does it. You gotta know how to grab it. I know how to grab it. It's so gentle, it's softly spoken, it's understated. It can be, as we've seen in other movies, it can be very sinister, of course. House of the Devil, Manhunter, but certainly, you know, he's the kind of guy that you listen to. I don't think Tom Noonan ever, you know, swung his arms around and ranted and raved and like shouted. I don't think he ever did that in any movie. Someone's going to go, well, in this he does. I don't recall any of that. Maybe, but the vast majority of his performances are quietly reserved. They're articulate but softly spoken, and it really, really works. We've got some more. We've got some more music here. This is from Late Phases, in a great sort of montage sequence where Nick D'Amici is preparing for the final night, and the real werewolf now realizes people are onto him, and he in a last-ditch attempt, he builds an army of werewolves. He puts the bite on the aged congregation, so they all become old werewolves to go and attack Nick D'Amici. But he also ends up confessing to Tom Noonan, who doesn't believe he's a werewolf, just thinks it's, look, rage inside man and all this, and you've got guilt and you've got a disorder, but with God's help and my help, we'll get you through this. He goes, no, you don't understand, I'm a fucking werewolf, and then turns into one, and poor Tom Noonan's like, and then gets mauled by the werewolf. I know, spoilers. But this sequence is where the werewolf is going around and meeting everyone, and Nick D'Amici's preparing, and it's called Brilliant Light, and it's just a beautiful piece of music. Cheers, Robert Duvall. Cheers, Tom Noonan. Cheers to everybody. And I'm going to be in trouble because that is the last can of lager that Mrs. Kilt-Man has, and I'm always the one that nicks the last can of lager, and she goes mad, really mad. Pray for me. But this is beautiful, isn't it, this? I did think before I did this video, I thought I'm going to misname Tom Noonan because one of my best years ever, 16 to 17, I was doing YTS landscape gardening, and my boss was a guy called Ted Noonan, equally eccentric and strange, but the similarities end right there. It was a wonderful year, and he was Ted Noonan, and I thought I'm going to start calling Tom Noonan Ted Noonan throughout this. So far I haven't done that. But the dialogue of Robert Duvall as Kilgore, smell, gasoline smell, the whole hill, that throaty, rasp, that voice rings in your ears. But Tom Noonan's voice as well, softly spoken, and those eyes which just look into you. You watch his movies, you watch any performance, and he will captivate you. Again, I said before, you didn't see him rant or rave, throw punches and anything like that. I don't think so anyway. Barely even in Manhunter. Well, he does some horrible things in it, but he doesn't really... Oh, you're hearing a bit of Manhunter right now. And I prepared this earlier. But I wanted to celebrate both actors. They're both tremendous in their own right. Duvall, obviously hugely well known, widely recognised, made headline news when he passed, understandably. Tom Noonan, I've not heard. I got told about it, and then I saw on a couple of websites that it was true. I think his press agent, Tom Noonan, announced his death, and Fred Decker, who directed him in Monster Squad, also confirmed it as well. So they must have stayed friends. But whether Tom was ill towards the end, again, I don't know. One can only presume, but 74 is a very young age to suddenly go. And he has sort of dropped out of movies and TV shows. But a wonderful actor. Great music as well, isn't it? Just wonderful stuff. I had nothing apart from the vinyl for Apocalypse Now for Robert Duvall. Nothing. I've got tons of movies. I could have put them all out, I suppose, but I had no posters at all. Not even for The Godfather, But Tom Noonan, I thought, like, people aren't going to be talking about him, and I really want to, bring his name to the fore. I have discussed him a lot in reviews that I've done in the past, and I've always found a way to bring him into all the conversations as well, because I think he's a fabulous actor, and I think it's terribly, terribly sad. 74 is no age at all. Whether he retired completely or not, or due to illness or what, I don't know, but it's a horribly, horribly young age to have gone. But a great body of work. I mean, there's so many more. And the fact that he was a playwright, a director, an editor, and a composer as well, did everything. Very, very bohemian though. You've seen him in interviews. He'd wear like a Shelby, flat cap and all that, and he'd wear very boho sort of clothes, and he had that sort of very spiritual, presence about him. That he meditates, he's done this, he's done that, he's been to Tibet, he's climbed Everest. I don't know if he has, but he gave off that kind of impression. And another thing about Tom Noonan as well is that, which again lends itself to him playing sort of quietly menacing villainous roles, is that there's a look on his face that there's a smirk, there's a half smile. And it's not wrong, it's not misplaced. That's why directors have brought him in to play these characters, because he alone can nail it. There's this half smile and this look in his eyes that, he may be big and doleful and soulful, but they're saying, like, I know something you don't, or I know something about you that you are hiding. I know what's going to happen to you because I'm going to do it. He has that presence, and that, again, I come back to the party. Some people are drawn in to this messianic sort of aura that people have, and you've all met people like this. They're not the big I ams. They're quietly confident, They just sit in the corner and people just gravitate towards them or they move away from them. It's like that. It's that dichotomy. But I'd love to have, of all the actors that I've admired, which there's so many. I want to meet King Kurt, of course I do. I want to meet Stallone. I want to meet Schwarzenegger. Tom Noonan, and I've always said this as well. It's not just saying it now. I've always said, he's one of those people that I'd love to sit and talk to him about his movies, and then see if he, like an onion, unwraps a layer, and you find out a bit more about the man himself. I don't think he was a hidden book. I think he was quite altruistic and quite giving in interviews. I don't think he was mysterious in any sort of way in reality, but he comes across like that, and people like that I'm very interested in, it is. Robert Duvall, fantastic. Had a life, 95, you cannot argue with that. Oh, it's such a sad loss. He's 95. But at 74, there was years ahead for Tom Noonan. Years of potentially other performances. He never looked like a young guy. Weirdly enough, he never looked young. And he must have been quite young when he did Wolfen, which you're hearing now. And again, he's quite funny in that as well, in Wolfen. Because once the Wolfen realise that they're being investigated and being pursued by human detectives, they begin to hunt the detectives. And anyone the detectives talk to is a target for the Wolfen as well. And of course he talked to Ferguson, who's Tom Noonan. And he hears them one night. He knows they're out there. He's sussed on as well. And he hears the Wolfen howling in Central Park. He was like, brilliant. But in a weird moment in Wadley's film, which I've discussed many, many times, and the version that we got now is, our theatrical cut, is only half the film that Wadley tried to make, or was making. And so a lot of things don't really add up. He knows the Wolfen's out there, but he phones emergency services. He says like, oh, there's a fire at the zoo. And they go, he says like, oh, my name, Peter Wolf. And he's got that smirk on his face, that understated sort of, I know something you don't smirk, which is so cool. Peter Wolf puts the phone down and then goes out on his little scooter to go and meet the Wolfen, and then realises that the Wolfen you don't see them, they begin to surround him in one of those little tunnels, and it's all misty as well, it's night time, and he's got his little scooter, and his big gangly frame on this little scooter with a little woolly hat on, and I knew you'd come, he says, and then he begins to realise, oh, hang on, the noises they're making aren't friendly, because he don't think he knows about wolves and that, like, no, that's threat. Shit. And he turns the scooter around and starts bombing it back about 3 or 4 miles an hour. And then suddenly a great big paw comes out from the side and swipes him off the scooter, and he gets killed. We never see his body, he just goes missing, but he's been chowed down on and devoured completely. But it's a curious sequence, and yet it's a great one at the same time. So, Tom Noonan. Well, folks, as I say, it's a sad week. A wealth of movies and TV shows to enjoy for both actors. Many decades they've both covered. Duvall is a household name, pretty recognisable, and iconic. Could be the leading man in many movies, TV shows, but also absolutely solid as a support, even if he wasn't in it a lot, the scenes he would be in would be anchored by him. You knew you're in safe hands, because he was just there. He was just standing in the background. That's the quality he had. And Tom Noonan just graced anything with his ethereal, otherworldly presence. So again, I ask you all to raise whatever you've got there in honour and tribute to Robert Duvall and Tom Noonan. Cheers, guys. I can hear the rain coming down now as well. I was in the pub earlier. I was going to do this video in the pub actually, but I thought it might be nice to raise a whiskey. There's no whiskey in the house. Don't have a whiskey in the house anymore. But I thought I'll have a whiskey in the pub and I'll raise it and I'll do the tribute to Robert Duvall and Tom Noonan in the boozer. It didn't happen because the boozer was just too busy. I did a video in the pub just the other day, in fact yesterday, and that worked perfectly well. But today it wasn't to be. So, so I had some Murphy's and a whiskey, and then came back. But in a way, it's good because I could put some music playlists together for both of these guys. And I've reviewed late phases. I've reviewed Wolfen. I haven't reviewed RoboCop 2 or FX or Last Action Hero. There's many Tom Noonan films I haven't reviewed, and I've reviewed Godfather, I think, and Apocalypse Now. But there's many more Robert Duvall movies I haven't reviewed. I really should do THX 1138. Again, I think that's it was iconic and quite groundbreaking at the time in the 70s. But Lucas rapidly moved on to, something else. I forgot what it's called now. Something to do with space. I don't know, I can't remember. And then that was it. And 1138 kind of got forgot about. So all the critics don't talk about it. All the people who write tomes on sci-fi movies and how influential and innovative certain stories and movies are, they don't talk about that so much these days. Maybe I shall review THX 1138 because I do think it's really good. I haven't seen it for a long time myself, to be perfectly honest with you, but I know it's up there. Like Silent Running, another film I've been meaning to review properly, give it the full Kilted treatment. I'm racing ahead of myself again. What am I wearing? Yes, I can hear you asking. What time is that? It's 8:15, and that's the time when it's always been. This is a great t-shirt from Astrodyne, your friend and mine. Astrodyne, a traveller in time, who sent this to me a while ago. And yeah, it's OMD talking about Enola Gay dropping the bomb. Yeah, but it's a great t-shirt. You get people in the pub going like, what's that mean? So you start singing it to them and they still don't get it because I can't sing very well. And then they go, oh yeah, well that's a bit grim, isn't it? It's iconic. That's what it is. Anyway, folks. Oh, I know what we should finish on. Yeah. You heard a bit of Lonesome Dove and Open Range. Well, there's a bit of Godfather. I mean, wonderful movies. Godfather 1 and 2 are outstanding. Great ensemble cast, great set pieces, great epic storytelling. Godfather Part 3. Oh, we all want to love it, don't we? I mean, we don't. We just don't. It really doesn't hang together so well. It's not a good finale. Although we all love Andy Garcia, of course, but it really doesn't work out so well. So enough of that. Let's go on to why do you guys sit on your helmets? So we don't get our balls blown off. Outstanding shot. Get you a case of beer for that one. You know, one of the greatest set pieces in cinematic history. The attack on the air, the VC village. So well filmed. So tightly choreographed and directed. And of course with the Ride of the Valkyries. Wagner, Richard Wagner. It should be louder, shouldn't it? Of course it should. And he got the gunner. So he's going like fucking ballistic crazy. And you get the injured get put on the helicopter comes down on the pavilion, and they put the wounded on, like, and a woman runs up with the explosives, blows it up. They're all tumbling out on fire, and of course they make a run for it down the bridge, and they get taken out. And that's of course like outstanding shot, red free or whatever. Like, get you a case of beer for that one. That's Robert Duvall, Kilgore. And like, what's it? Martin Sheen says, like, you know, he just knew he's going to walk through this world, he'd never get a scratch on him. And you get that great shot on the beach with a big explosion, literally about 20 yards behind him. And Kilgore, Duvall, is just squatting down. It's cavalry, Stetson on, yellow neckerchief and all that. And it doesn't flinch at all. I guarantee you there's people in the cinema audience who flinched when that boom went off, and he doesn't, and he's right there for real, and it goes off. Outstanding. Get you a case of beer for that one. So, some incredible movies there, with two absolute outstanding, there's that word again, luminaries of stage and screen. I mean, that's the other thing, these guys could act on stage as well. There's not that many actors in the last 20, 30 years that can do that. And no, you've got Hugh Jackman, and you've got there's other ones. I know there is, but that's not the norm. You go back to the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, into the 80s, a lot of those actors, they were entertainers. They could sing, they could dance. Robert Duvall could sing. Did you know that? He could sing. Don't know about Tom Noonan. But they could act, dance, sing, they could present, they could do all sorts, you know. They went to drama school and they learned everything. And then of course they chose to go into certain avenues, movies, or fate picked them for that, and that's how they got their career. But those fundamental arts they learned stayed with them throughout their entire careers. Now you don't get that these days, you just don't get it at all. You get TikTok people who become stars, YouTubers who become stars. Oh dear. I've got no chance now, have I? God. I might learn to fly a helicopter. Yeah. And I'll have loudspeakers mounted. Yeah. Riding the Valkyries. And I'll be hurtling down the Mersey. Doing bombing runs on the Isle of Man. Blowing the tails off all the cats on the Isle of Man. Manx cats have no tails. How weird's that? No, folks, there you go. That's a tribute to Robert Duvall and Tom Noonan, who sadly departed our world this week. I don't want to say it about these things happening in threes. I don't want to say it, but I just have. So let's see what happens next. But it's, yeah, not a good week for Hollywood, really. Not a good week. Oh, here's THX 1138. Lelu Schifrin's score. I'll review this. I think it needs it. Right, folks, I have been at Which I'll Be Kilt-Man. Please, in the meantime, and as ever, once again, raise your tipple in tribute in between time. Please keep it kilted, keep it Celtic, and I'm going to see you all later. Watch yourselves some Duvall movies, but watch yourselves some Tom Noonan films as well. I guarantee, even if you're sitting here thinking like, I haven't seen that Wolfen film you always talk about, I haven't seen Robocop 2, I haven't seen this, that, or the other, I haven't seen Late Phases or Monster Squad. Watch these films I've mentioned. Explore the completely unique and individual style and performance of Tom Noonan, because you've seen nothing like the way he delivers characters, the way he performs characters. It's a very, individual sort of style, which was definitely sought out by directors. We want someone who's creepy, but not outwardly, insanely, OTT. Not a Nick Cage. We want someone who's understated, who is kind of creepy, but you don't quite know why. Because he's so nice. He's so, the nicest guy on the block. He's also the serial killer in your neighborhood, and that's how Tom Noonan often played characters. Right, folks, please be happy, be healthy, look after yourselves.